Hello and welcome. This is my first ever tabletop video and it's going to kick off a series called What's in the Box. I'm just going to open various games in my cupboard and show you what's in the box. Starting off with Advanced Heroquest, and this also has the Terror in the Dark expansion. So this is quite old as well, 1989, so 31 years old now. The box cover, as you can see, this copy is quite faded. It used to be a lot brighter when it first came out. We'll see exactly what came inside. Something to look at here, obviously, as well, the back cover. Obviously, this has still got quite a lot of colour to it, where it sits on the box sits on it on the shelf. You can see a picture of what's in the game. Includes solo rules, which is quite handy. Obviously, the original HeroQuest didn't, so you'd always have to get at least 2 people to play. And just a little description about the characters and about your enemies that you'll find. So, first things up, the rulebook. Nice little black and white rulebook. Quite a lot you go through. Magic, hazards, enemies, treasures. Gives you everything you need to know to play the game. This is a very big rulebook and very wordy. I'll be honest, I've never actually got around to playing a game of Advanced Heroquest yet. End of the book's got a nice 4-part quest or 5-part quest for you to do with the players. It's got a character sheet on the back. But yeah, I've read it a couple of times, but it's still quite a lot to take in, so I've never got around to doing it. Always gone for the much simpler, basic HeroQuest. Sit down and play rules. Also included is a Terror in the Dark, and as you can see here, this is a photocopy because my original quest book got destroyed. The Terror in the Dark book added more stuff, more henchman types, more enemies, more magic and spells and treasures, and then another 4 or 5-part quest at the end where you go up against the Lich Lord. Right, so let's examine some of the stuff. So, cardboard pieces. Here we have an Advanced HeroQuest. This was for binders. They used to want you to cut up your rule books, hole punch them and place them in some lever arch binders, and that was a nice little, this would just slot in the back so you could have all your binders on your shelf of all your rules. I think that only appeared in all the advanced versions because I never had one in my basic versions. Here we got one of the punch sheets still intact. This is for the base game. Here you've got 6 enemy monsters. They're all Skavens, different clans, different classes. You just punch these out and you'd put it with the actual units to represent they were there in the game, until you could afford to purchase some of the Citadel miniatures and they'd take part as well. Top half of the punch board is a lot of tokens. You'd punch these out and they'd be drawn randomly during the game. Stuff like wandering monsters, you find characters, traps, escapes. It'd all be doing interactions with the enemy. Next up, big punch boards. We've got big room boards. Now these are all from the Terror in the Dark expansion. And these are all used for their custom quest, including this big 2-part room. So they'll go in the bottom of the box. Next up, also Terror in the Dark. Here are some artifact cards. So, I'm assuming it's the quest that came with the game. You've got 4 powerful artifacts. Looks like 1 for each character. They all came in the Terror in the Dark expansion. Had their own little cards for them. Next up is these little cards. These are from the base game. They're all map cards. So if you're doing the quest at the back of the base game book, you'd have these little map cards you could give out to your player characters, and they'd use them during the quest. Next up here we've got room tiles. Got some big 5x10 rooms. You've got about 6 smaller 5x5 rooms and 1 circular room. They all came with the base game. Just the standard for you to use to build your dungeon. Next up, got quite a lot of these. These are all 2x5. You've got a couple of, you've got some dead end tiles. You've got a lot of corridor tiles. 3 of them are these ones. It was a chasm in the base game and a stream in the Terror in the Dark. 2 or 3 of them. I think it's just 2 actually. But they're what you use to build all the corridors and stuff around all the rooms, and quite a few more actually. These pretty much identical for the base game and Terror in the Dark, but Terror in the Dark came with a lot more of them than the base game did. And then next up, we've got a lot more smaller corridor tiles. We've got some of these T-junction pieces. Later on, we've got some corner pieces. I believe we've also got some four-way pieces. And again, you've got quite a few of these with the base game, but you've got a lot more in Terror in the Dark. And again, they all look exactly the same. There's no real differential. You also got some stair tiles. You got two of these in the base game. Often there'd be your way in and out of each level. A couple of the quests, the levels were over multiple floors, so that's be how you advance them. Next up, got a bag of damage counters. You'd obviously, these came with the base game, and you just use them to mark any damage you'd have to any of your monsters. They range from 1 to 8. You've got quite a lot of 1s, very few, like 6, 7, 8s. Here's a bag of dice. The original dice are lost. These just in spare. It was just 2 12-sided dice. I think the original game was a white and a black dice. These are some interesting coloured dice that have replaced it at some point over the years. What else have we got? We've got some... This is an amulet from the base game, a 4-part amulet. That's used in the quest that comes with the actual book. More base game tiles. We've got these blue guys here, like the gold ones from earlier. These just represent Undead Champion, Ogre Chieftain, Chaos Lord. They just represent some big enemies that could be found with the Skaven parties. And again, you just use the tokens until you can get around to actually buying the actual miniatures from Games Workshop themselves. A couple of big tiles here. There's like a pool, a magic circle, 2 fireballs. I'm not sure exactly where they're using it yet. As I said, I've not actually got around to playing a proper game of it. We've also got this bag here. It's full of all these 1x1 and 2.1, 1x1 and 2x1 tiles. I'll go for a couple, but we've got some big pits. You got a couple of these in the base game, a lot more in expansion. Same as you got some iron portcullises. Got a couple in the base game, you've got a lot more in the expansion. Expansion gave you a lot of tiles, a lot of new tiles, but a lot of the same as the base tiles, so you could build your adventure as big as you needed it to. Chest, they had a couple of chest tiles, a couple of trapdoor tiles and iron grates in both versions. Terror in the Dark also came with some of these. So you got like slime, mushrooms, bats, rats. A couple more tiles somewhere in the bag. Well, they're taking up some coffins as well. I don't know if they were specifically used in the expansion, in the quest in the back, or if it just came in the bag in the box. As I said again, I've still yet to get around to playing it. I've played a lot of solo games recently, so I might actually try it at some point. And finally, last up is all the plastic pieces. So everything for Terror in the Dark we've looked at. The Terror in the Dark did not come with any miniatures. The quest in there was all about undead as well. I'm expecting you could possibly have used the undead miniatures from the base Heroquest game to do it. I have not yet tried. And here we have the first bit of plastic is all the miniatures, is the heroes that came with the base game. As you can see, we've got the elf, the wizard, the dwarf, and we've got here less of a barbarian, more of a fighter. These guys have got shields. Elf and wizard, the only characters that don't come with any shields. Somehow these are still on the sprue as well, so they'll be good to punch off and paint at some point. Next up, we've got doors as well. These are quite cool. The doors actually came on some hinges, and you can just push them open, push them closed. So they're quite nice effect. I've heard they can break quite easily, although these ones, well, that's just popped off there. Not broken, it just popped out there. It just pops on, swings, open and closed. Next up is some henchmen. There's about a dozen of these guys. All look quite similar. All come with like weapon and shield. That's the first one. Let's have a look at another one here. So again, detail's not too bad for 30-year-old models. Some of these have got holes in the shield. I don't remember where they came from, if the holes were there naturally, but at some point they'll get painted over. Yeah, there's a dozen of those mercenaries. And then the last thing to look at is the Skaven, the actual enemies you've got. Note he's a mercenary. But so, here we go, 3 of these guys here. You see they all came different designs on their shield, different weapons, but generally all Skaven. They all had different coloured bases. There were a lot of generic black bases, and I think there was 4 grey and 4 green bases. And they were just used in the adventure to tell you different types. So if you had a couple of sentries and a couple of general warriors, and then maybe some gutter runners, you'd at the start of the adventure decide which colour was which. Yeah, there's the bag with all the rest of the plastic pieces in. I'm not going to dig them all out. That's a job for another day to sort that out. And yeah, that's everything in the box. So that's Advanced Heroquest. What's in the box? For a 30-year-old box, I think it's all in fairly good condition as well, which is quite nice compared to some of the stuff I had previously. So, well, the box is a bit battered and tatty, but anyway, so thanks for watching and see you soon.